waiting graduation. But I'm currently working at Woodcrest Melting Company as the traceability and due diligence manager. And I'm also a mining engineer. That's my profession. Yes.
Wow.
And I'm so much excited for this session.
Okay. Are you practicing financial literacy as a trainer?
No, I'm just, I think I can say, a student,
Mm.
just learning. Yes.
All right. Nice to have you around. So you'll just give us a few minutes. I know you're quite early and you might think, why are these people taking up so much time? We are waiting for the other colleagues to join. Being a
All
Friday,
right.
always extend that grace period. There are so many competing priorities, I believe.
It's real.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Drink. We are so excited to have all of you on this call as we wait for our colleagues to join in. I'm your host, Aisha Nakanwaji. I'm currently the financial literacy advisor at NSSF Uganda. It's always a pleasure to come around this evening and meet with fellow trainers and potential future trainers to discuss our future in the financial literacy space. Yeah, the numbers are still low, but regardless, we shall respect those who have come on time, and we are going to start the conversation. I recognize the presence of Saida, Sanyu, Irene, Jacob, Esther Kasire, always coming. Thank you so much. And feel free to type in the chat to say hello, to send an emoji as we make this platform very memorable for all of us. And we are sharing our experiences, we are sharpening our skills, we are sharpening each other. And that's the reason we're here every last Friday of the month at 7 p.m. Yeah, it's a sacrifice. I know so much is going on, and Fridays are usually our days to do so much, but thank you for coming along. Our guest for the day is already here, but just to take you back to our previous session, we hosted the financial literacy and mass education manager at NSSF, that is Apollo Mbowa. We hosted him in the last session. There were so many things we covered on how to position ourselves as trainers, what qualifications are required on the market right now for trainers, and visibility as trainers. How do we ensure that we are visible and our work is not just known to just us and in small rooms, but in also bigger rooms where we train? Yeah, so we also talked about impact and also shared about how to skill ourselves. Yeah, he talked about skilling, behavior, and specializing to make sure that, whatever you decide to take on as a trainer, you master it to the core, so that when you're faced with an audience, you don't come off as someone who is guessing. And as trainers, as a person who has seen trainers who even support us here at the fund, sometimes we see that trait where you see as if the trainer is not sure, and yet the crowd is really, 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 really ready to learn and ready to engage and ready to practice what they are being taught. Yeah, but most times, sometimes the trainer lets the crowd down. So it's from that background that this platform was formed, so that as trainers, we to check ourselves against the standards that are both locally and globally or regionally. Yeah, because sometimes what we think we know is what we think is the thing, but when we come on this platform as trainers, sometimes we get to learn things that are beyond what we already know in our spaces. Yeah, so we will always have this discussion, and we shall be hosting different individuals on every last Friday of the month at 7 p.m. The time remains 7 p.m. because we believe training and capacity building is a personal sacrifice. Because even if you put the training at 1 p.m., someone will be like, that's not my lunchtime. So training and personal development is a personal initiative. So we will maintain the time, and we know that one Friday in a month, you will always carve out time to learn a thing or two from trainers who I can say are practicing, who we have seen being visible and who we've seen setting the mark and the standard for financial literacy trainers. Yeah. So the ones we pick on to host on these platforms, I can as well say that, yeah, they are the ones showing us the way to go. Yeah, there are many other trainers who probably are not posting their work and they're not visible, but that's why we have this platform to make sure that we kind of come together and discuss the best way for us to be visible, because they say a closed mouth is a closed destiny. Yeah. So if you're doing work undercover and no one knows about it, it's very hard that you will be able to scale. Yeah. So that's why on call today, we have one of our very own, a person I personally look up to in the financial literacy space. Philip Kiryowa is so consistent, even on the platforms where we meet as trainers, the WhatsApp platforms, but also LinkedIn and other platforms. He's consistently delivering financial literacy education, and in the recent past, we have seen him show his work. Yeah, I think ever since the UFLA conference that we had, the anniversary, was it? We talked about visibility. We had a trainer who came and talked about visibility, and it came out as one of the things that trainers need to embark on. Yeah. So Philip, we spotted you out. You may be wondering why you, among all the almost 2,000 trainers that Bank of Uganda has flagged off. We admire your consistency. We admire your courage. And we see the kind of community and influence that you're growing in the financial literacy space, for not just the bank where you work, but also for yourself. Yeah. We also note that you are a master trainer now, something that all of us hopefully are willing to achieve in our futures as financial literacy educators. I know you'll tell us more about that. But most importantly, we want to know if financial literacy, if something is something we want to take on as trainers, is it something that brings money or it's a passion project? Yeah, because some people say people are just motivational speakers. Does it bring money to the pocket? And many other things around there. So Philip, I don't have to say so much about you. I know I'm going to give you a few minutes to tell us about yourself, about what you do, and then we'll take it on from there. You're most welcome, everybody on the call. We'll start it off right now. Philip, you're most welcome. These are the financial literacy trainers that are in UFLA, and they're here to learn from you. We're excited to have you on call.
Wow. Very energetic moderator. Thank you very much, Aisha, for the opportunity you've given me to come and share my journey as a financial literacy trainer. It's a privilege. We are so many financial literacy trainers, but I'm happy that you've given me a chance to be known, to be visible. As you've told me, let me introduce myself. My name is Philip Kiryowa. I'm a banker with Equity Bank, where I work as a financial literacy trainer. And in that docket, I'm mandated to train investment clubs, VISLAs, community-based organizations across the country, especially young people, in how to use their money, but also to access financial services. And I've done this work for the last 5 years, and it has helped me to really discover myself, but also my passion for sharing knowledge. And I've discovered that financial literacy is a very important tool for socio-economic transformation. So with that background, some of the messages I share on different platforms are a bit personal, but also to challenge people out there to know that it's not about physical cash, but it's about a change in mindset before you gain financial freedom. So I'm also a member of Uganda Financial Literacy Association. Also, recently I was elevated into master trainer, and I discovered it was out of the passion that I had shown for financial literacy, the reports I was sharing, that Bank of Uganda took notice of me and made me a financial literacy trainer, and I'm extremely honored to have that title. But also it's a challenge in that if you're a master trainer, you have to defend the title in terms of what is it about. Yes, I'm also very enthusiastic about youth empowerment, and I have a consultancy called Advanced Empowerment Link. That's what I can say for now.
All right, thank you so much, Philip, for letting us into your world. It looks like a very huge world. We would like to know just a little bit more. I see you are a personal finance coach. I also see you have a youth empowerment platform, but also you're a master trainer. You work with a bank. So many hats you're wearing. Yes, so many hats you're wearing. And from someone who doesn't know or would like to know, can you walk us through your financial literacy journey? How did it begin? Did it begin in school? And what has kept you going? Because financial literacy is one of those things where sometimes you're not even seeing the impact in real time. Yeah. So what has kept you going, and where did this journey begin? What did you study in school? Because how did you end up here, and how are you doing all the things you're doing now to even be able to be spotlighted by Bank of Uganda and being trained to become a master trainer that you are now? We would really love to hear that.
Am I being heard?
Yes, please.
Yes, I should say that I've been a banker since 2014, but I wasn't very intentional in terms of financial literacy, because you can be in a banking sector, but it's business as usual. But I realized naturally I have a curious mindset. I love to learn. So whenever there is an opportunity to learn something, I research about it, either by myself. For example, when I learned about investment clubs, that is as early as I I I studied a lot of investment clubs on my own because I wanted to know more. So the seeds of financial literacy, I think, started mostly during when I entered the bank, but I wasn't very intentional, though I was in the investment club association space. And in no time, because of my zeal for learning, I became their chairman. So I was also surprised that how could I just join a field that was new, and then they made me, because of I always tried my best to stand out, trying to get to understand more about a field. For example, if I read about unit trusts, if someone says something about unit trusts, I'll go to YouTube and research about them. I'll ask people who know more. So that curiosity in me has made me try to research a lot about the financial literacy space. So at university, I did study courses that are so much related to finance, because I have a bachelor's in development studies, but also a master's in business administration. But there is doing a course, but not being intentional into something, because I also didn't know a lot about financial literacy. I also discovered that I have an inclination for sharing knowledge. It's in me. Whatever I learn, I always love to share. Because of that, over time, I have a strength in writing. So because of writing, I find myself writing about different things. I used to write on WhatsApp before, on different WhatsApp groups. Realized that I need to, when I discovered the other platforms like LinkedIn, then I scaled up. So what I'm trying to say is that when you have something to share with the world, you don't need permission to do what? To share it out. For me, that's my philosophy. If for example, I can learn something about a loan, then I share. So it's more of something that I do out of passion, but also out of an obligation that someone needs that information that I have, because not everyone is privileged to work in a financial institution. And we've seen that many people lose their property, others commit suicide simply because they lack information about something. Then it's my obligation to share. So where I became more intentional in financial literacy was when I was spotted by Tilda of Bank of Uganda, and she told me, there is a training for Bank of Uganda in Entebbe. So when they told me that, I told my immediate supervisor, and when I attended that course, it was like a light bulb moment for me. And since then, it has just scaled me. So I should say there is a bit of self-motivation in me. It's not about money or what, but it's one of those things that are part of me. And every day that goes by, it becomes clearer.
Wow, Philip, thank you so much for that. The journey is, for me, it sounds like it was meant to be because you posted things, you got singled out, and then you were called in for training. It was crafted in a way that it had to happen the way it did. Yeah. But from the persona that you hold, and I don't know, I know a thing or two about you. You are very, very reserved. And for many trainers, we need to come off as we are energetic, very loud, taking up space. But I see how you do your things, how you train in your demeanor without over taking up space, without over consuming everybody in the room. But your message gets heard and gets appreciated. How does your persona, do you think it's something that you have ever thought about as being a challenge to the job, to the work that you do? Or you think it still works in your favor? Because we know trainers as being so energetic. So the persona in our heads that we have of a trainer is really someone now, like how you see Vusi steps onto the stage, but you have a quiet presence, yeah, which I keep wondering, or as trainers, we keep wondering, how is your persona related to the work you do? When we look at you, we see a mismatch, but when you do deliver, we actually see impact and results. So is this something you've ever thought about, or is it a comment that someone has ever told you? Because it's from our observation, because I managed to get a few questions from the trainers of what I could ask you. So I'm trying to mirror what their thoughts are around you and the strides you've taken given your persona. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yes. I realized that it's very important for a person to discover who they are. If I hadn't discovered who I was, I wouldn't be on call today. I'm someone who is very passionate about personal growth. I should also say I'm a certified coach, because I told you earlier that I'm a curious person. I love to grow. I love knowledge. So whenever there is an opportunity for growth, I embrace it. So I also admire people who are above me. So I always try my best to undertake those courses that can make me better. So I had to enroll for a coaching course by highly rated institution called Coach Masters Academy. And it was also another game changer for me because it helped me to know what a coach does. So because of that self-awareness, I realized that personally I'm more of an introvert, but I love to share knowledge. I'm very passionate about seeing people's lives change, especially in terms of finances. So over time, you discover that you can focus on your strength. I did a strength finder, and it showed me that focus on your strength. And that explained to me everything. Once you focus on your strength, everyone has a strength. Every time I'm putting down my strength, I realize I'm good at writing, I'm good at training. So those define a lot of what I do. The worst mistake we normally make is to focus on our weaknesses. So if you are on call, find out that thing that you are good at. There is that thing that continuously comes out, and it's likely to overshadow your weaknesses. So it's no, because I also didn't know that maybe people are following me or what, but because I focused on my strength of writing and reading, so people look at your strength and you realize that all the best people all the best leaders, they focus on their strength. And maybe something to add is that we need continuous learning. I'm someone who is always on LinkedIn reading or reading a personal development book or listening to a podcast. So it's not, you have to do a lot of reinvention, self-discovery, overcoming your doubts, and self-analysis.
Okay, that is well said. So when you noticed that you had this, for example, persona of an introvert, but the fire within you to train and to share knowledge was very high, it drove you to coaching. And when you did the coaching, the coaching course, that's when you did the self-discovery and you found your strength. You found your strength in writing. I can attest to that. You really write short but very impactful articles very consistently, and it's a reason why you got noticed. And it's what we want to focus on today. How, why, when, what exactly? When do you know? What do you know what to write? When to write it? When to send it? How to structure it? In this busy world, Philip, you work in a bank. Do you schedule time? We know as humans, we have so much we want to do in our heads. I can say I want to do a podcast, for example. I like to speak personally. But when, how, what, or when you ask those questions, sometimes you get into paralysis. You know, when you overanalyze something and you get paralyzed by the work it's going to take. How do you consistently do the write-ups that you do and consistently share them on platforms? And for a while, you've shared your writings, and sometimes even no one claps. People just see them and no one even comments. How do you keep going? Because I know it's not easy, but you keep going, and yet it's so easy to get discouraged because in this era of technology, people are not even concentrating to read. People want videos that are so funny, that have enticing images, and very few people have the focus to even read a paragraph. But you've consistently done it without thinking twice. Philip, we want to know more about that from your perspective and from scratch.
Yes. You remember I said I did a course in coaching. Coaching really was a paradigm shift for me because in many times we undersell ourselves. And as a coach, they always center you on questions. So you realize that every time you feel you're selling yourself short, that you want to impact the world. So I can't say that I have a structured way of writing these articles. But being a banker and being a daily financial literacy trainer, there are so many lessons I get on a daily. there's so many calls I get on a daily whereby the things you take for granted, like let's say buying, opening an account. There are women who fear to open accounts in the bank and they profess it. So you realize that financial literacy has so many scopes, like awareness is very key. So we live in a society that focuses on money, that they want to get money, but there are so many underlying factors that if you don't approach them, even if you get the money, it may not help you. So I realized that I have an obligation as a coach to focus on mindset change, because I normally tell the people I train that you rather train me than give me money. Because once you change your mindset, then money is a given. So for me, I've discovered that I need to make a contribution in terms of mindset change. And when you see my articles, they mostly focus on the mindset, on those underlying issues that deter us from uh, from getting financial freedom. Because if you have, let's say, a fixed mindset, you not think of going beyond your what? Beyond your current level. So sometimes I write those articles to challenge myself, because even me, I read those articles. But I also know that what I write is needed by someone. So I don't have a structured way of writing a what? Because I have a gift of writing, I just come up with an idea and write there and then.
All
Because I
right,
feel
Philip.
my message is needed.
Okay, so thank you so much, Philip, for enlightening us on that, the power of consistency, because on the financial literacy platforms, we see your articles consistently being shared with or without anyone clapping, but you still do it anyway. So now that you've said that it's already a gift, which you discovered through coaching, and that was a personal initiative you took because you knew you wanted to share with the world, but you didn't know what your strength was. So you had to take on coaching. It's a challenge to all of us to always have that hunger and that curiosity you've spoken about in your first in the first part of your conversation, the curiosity mindset and the passion you have to share knowledge. And you chose the right medium that is for your personality. Like you said, you're an introvert, but you had so much passion to share knowledge, so you found a channel through writing to share this knowledge. Thank you for sharing that. So we move on to master trainer. Yes, it's something that all of us in the financial literacy space would like to achieve. And I know that Bank of Uganda, I think, has only certified master trainers. I think they're not even above 10 individuals. How has your journey to being a master trainer been crafted out? Did they single you out? Was it the work you do that Bank of Uganda sought you out and now trained you for master trainer? And also being a master trainer, what does the title come with in terms of real opportunities, in terms of networks, in terms of income? Because as financial literacy trainers, many people say we are motivational speakers. Yeah. Does the being master trainer translate into actual income that you get from this title, or it's a passion project? Is this something we should aspire to as trainers, or it's just another title that doesn't really bring bread and tea on the table? Philip.
Great questions. Thank you. What I realized when the questions that you've brought have helped me to also realize that many times passion and zeal is what you have to focus on. When I started my journey, the first training we had of a certificate, it challenged me and I said, this is the starting point. And I asked myself, how do I move to the next level? And when I had the highest level is master trainer. So from the word go, my mind was focused on becoming a master trainer. I didn't know when or what. So for me, I just focused on what I do, submitting reports, but also making sure I go the extra mile in adding value to whoever I interact with. And that I didn't know that I was being watched. So what I can say is that you just have to do your thing, because in the financial literacy that we do, we are not paid, apart from me being maybe a salaried employee. But even within the bank, if you go and ask the name Philip, especially at head office, even within the bank, I share on our head office group, and they know me for that, up to the MD level. So sometimes passion makes you stand out. So I think discovering that you have a strength in something and you just execute also paves way for you, because when they were giving me the title of master trainer, I think they based so much on the impact I had made. And even remember in 2024, on 30th May, I didn't know that I would get an award at Serena. It came as a surprise. So I think all these achievements that I've got have been because of the impact I've made maybe in people's lives, those who read the articles and they feel I'm making an impact on them. The worst blunder would have been if I focused maybe on recognition, maybe I would have quit. But for me, I focus on the end in terms of someone needs my message. And I believe, because even you calling me to speak, I didn't expect it. So maybe sometimes in every journey we are in, we must focus on the end game. What are you trying to achieve? But if we are into it for money first, I don't think it comes instantly. But just like you see the most successful people, those who have a lot of money, they focus on service. So I think as financial literacy trainers, we need, one, to first sell the message to ourselves, because it's one thing to train other people, but yet the message is not reflecting to us. So we need, as financial literacy trainers, not to just give out messages without it impacting on us. I want to give you an example. At a recent financial literacy training that I undertook for an NGO, where I was with Carol, I think she's on call here, Carol Amase, I discovered something in the notes for master trainer for the financial literacy. That was in terms of budget, current condition versus desired condition. I had to reflect it on myself as I was training the trainees. I realized that as a financial literacy trainer, I need to put down my current condition in terms of finance, then the desired. So at the end of the day, if we are to impact in financial literacy, it should also make sense to us. But if we go it into money, it may not be instant.
Philip, that was well said. Thank you. But I still go back to emphasize the point of earning from this profession. Yes, as much as impact is what we all hope for, and for some of us who are privileged to be in jobs where financial literacy is putting food on our table and we are being paid, like for you, you're in the bank and it's paying you to do that job. I know in the network of trainers in the association, we have people who are actually using their own transport, using their own resources to carry out these trainings, but it's not really translating into income. Yeah. And it is what has resulted to that demotivation of most of the trainers, because on the platform, Bank of Uganda shared with us a database of over 2,000 people have been trained as financial literacy trainers. But when you look on the market, even just on this call, you really see that they are not motivated, because money is a very huge motivator. How, in your own thinking and from your experience, how can we translate this whole impact story, which we are already achieving? I can say that people are appreciating the messages, they are clapping hands for us, but it's not translating into income. Yeah. And then, like you said, that we should start with service with ourselves. The message should start with us. We would appreciate that. And that's what we want to see. And most of us, I know, are on the journey of the things we teach, we are practicing and even trying to be role models in the space. But if the trade is not, there's no exchange, the value we are offering, there's no exchange for money, what does the future look like for us as trainers when the money part is not really coming out at the same pace with the value that we are offering in the marketplace, according to your experience and from your space?
Thank you very much for that question and for being an advocate. If you follow sometimes the comments I make on UFLA page, I also reflect and I say, do we know what we have? We as financial literacy trainers have not taken stock of the wealth that we have. Because if UFLA alone has, let's say, 2,000 trainers, like the cream of society. So the first question we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing about what? The numbers we have. I normally share on that group some of the, my employer, for example, I ask myself, banks have needs customers. We are people who are always on ground. Perhaps we are making a mistake by us not taking stock or asking ourselves hard questions that we have over 26 banks. The financial services industry is the heart of the economy. But with the key players, we are working in isolation. Sometimes when someone shares, let's say I've shared an advert with about equity, it gives loans up to 6 billion to SACCOs. I would expect any concerned financial literacy trainer to give me a call and ask what opportunities are there and how can we work together. Because if we emphasize collaboration as financial literacy trainers, we can achieve impact, but also we can share knowledge, but also we can earn. But the biggest challenge we have is that we work in isolation because everybody has a strength on that group. But if we don't utilize that group that we have, then we are the ones to blame. Because imagine people who are doing lesser businesses are making money. What about someone who is a finance coach or a trainer? It's us to ask ourselves, how do we monetize financial literacy, or how do we collaborate more so that UFLA can stand out and we seek partnerships with different entities that need financial literacy? Because all the banks cannot have enough financial literacy trainers. So we need to position ourselves so that we make UFLA a force to reckon with, just like we see Uganda Manufacturers Association, just like we see Uganda Law Society. So I think we have a lot of work to do. The other thing we need to do as financial literacy trainers, we are talking about money. What if we amplify starting a circle so that that circle can really be a pace setter. So I think we still also have a challenge because Bank of Uganda has trained us. So where do we expect money to come from if we, the stakeholders, don't come together to ask ourselves those hard questions? Because lastly, if, for example, we understand what financial service providers need and we help government in training its circles in like PDM, and there's so many groups out there that are informed. How can we tap into them so that they can pay us? It's not an easy journey, but we need to ask ourselves those hard questions.
Wow, Philip, you're so spot on. We need to ask ourselves the hard questions, and it starts with us to see how we can monetize the skills and the knowledge that we are privy to have that might seem obvious, like you said earlier, but so many people don't have so much information on so many financial related things, and we all need it. They all need it. So beyond the qualification that Bank of Uganda has given us, do you have any other trainings that or skillings or certifications that you think we can add on to this certification? Because I know that most trainers, when they get this certificate, it has opened doors for some. Yes, I know. But for you to stand out or for you to now command the market, for them to believe that this profession is something that institutions can work with, like you spoke about collaboration, are there skills beyond the certification that the Bank of Uganda has given us that can help us position ourselves better? As the audience also prepares its questions, that's been quiet here. It's not usually how we do things. We usually engage, but Philip, I had to give him all the space to speak because he's really a force in our space. So prepare your questions. You can type in the chat, or you can raise your hand or unmute to ask Philip any of the questions that you might be having, or something that he's mentioned that you may want to point out or to get emphasis on. Oh, yes, Philip, qualifications as the audience
Yes,
prepares.
I'm going to answer it in two ways. If we over-focus on qualifications, we miss the point. I think even with a certificate, we can impact because not so many people have even a certificate. Being trained by Bank of Uganda itself is an achievement. So we need to know that whatever we have is you already an expert. All that we need to do is to focus on impact. Because if we focus on certificate, you can, because let me ask, many people on that platform have the certificate, but you know there are some who are not practicing. So that is one part of the coin. But again, the other way we can really maximize financial literacy is also finding out where exactly do you need to be, because financial literacy, as you realize, is very wide. So you can say, I'm going to focus on debt, and you become an expert in debt, or you can be an expert in insurance. So I think we also need to avoid being a jack of all trades. Let's focus on an area. And then the beauty is now there is a lot of information on internet. There are many practitioners. So I normally reach out to, I read articles by different people to get knowledge. But it's very important to focus on an area where you have passion.
So you've brought out specialization, and you still very relatable to what the previous speakers that we had on this platform shared. That was Apollo and Joan Mugenzi. They were also quite very big on specialization, that we can't be jacks of all trade, because that's where we are ending up being mediocre. You can't be a personal finance coach, investment, saving, retirement planning, debt management. So I think if we focus, like you mentioned, and I can say that previous guests mentioned the same thing, but I would like to also, you talked about impact, that we focus on the impact we are making from our space, even from at a global scale. I've been privileged to at least attend some of the conferences on a global scale. There's a global or an issue with measuring impact in our space, because we do all these sessions, we do all these one-on-ones, and whatever we do, you do all the writing you do. From your end, how do you measure impact? Yeah, to know that, this thing is working for people and it's not just another conversation that they're hearing. How can we measure impact? Do you have tools that you use, or something that you can suggest, or something that is working maybe for you or for your bank where you work? We'll be very happy to hear from you regarding that, because it's something most of the trainers and the institutions are struggling with.
Okay, that's a good question, because at the end of the day, any training should have an impact. Otherwise, it will just be a story. Luckily, the role I do is also financial literacy. And but then it starts with us as the trainers. What is the end in mind? For me, normally, when I train a group, it's like a laboratory for me. I tell myself that this is a privilege God has given me to impact a life. Because remember, financial literacy training is cross-cutting. If you read the newspapers, everything is related to financial literacy. So all the social ills we see are somehow related to financial literacy. So what we need to know is that financial literacy has to impact the individual. So it goes back to the way you deliver. Like when I'm training a group, I always try to ensure, let's say, I'm training women in a rural area. One, I know that those women have inferiority complex. So in the way I train, I'm going to make sure I use dialogue, I affirm them, those principles of adult learning. So at the end of the day, you realize that maybe you have an objective that you want to raise the esteem of these people. Then as you train them, you ask them, what have you learned? I don't allow a group to keep quiet. I always ask them questions to say at least that someone has learned something. But then also I realize that as financial literacy trainers, if we want to support from Bank of Uganda, I realize there is a bit of laxity, including me. After getting certificate, we tend to relax and not report numbers to Bank of Uganda. So that is in a way going to affect us, because we need, those numbers are needed at the national level. So we need, as UFLA, to liaise with Bank of Uganda to see how best can one make fast reporting, so that those numbers are captured, such that in case they need to evaluate, they know where the groups are, the number of people impacted, such that even if we are to get donors who want to partner with UFLA, we shall have the figures. So I think we need to engage the management of UFLA to sit with Bank of Uganda to mainstream reporting, such that the figures, the policymakers are interested in the figures, and so many other stakeholders.
All right. Thank you so much, Philip. We're bringing this conversation home, and I would like to hear from the participants. If there's any question or any comment or any thumbs up, feel free to share. I will allow you to talk. David, Rose, Monica, Peace, Esther. This is our platform and this is our time to speak and engage with each other. feel free to raise your hand and I'll unmute you to ask your question. Yes. Yes, hello? Is someone trying to speak? Oh, it's in the background. Yes, David, would you like to say something? David Mugisha. Monica? Yes, David, please go ahead. Oh, David was trying to unmute and he muted himself again. Esther, do you have anything to add or any questions? We have Philip here. David, yes, you're unmute.
Can I say something?
Oh, yes, please. Hello, we can hear you, David. As David makes his way back on the call, we see comments in the chat. Monica says, thank you for the roundtable conversations. David, you're breaking.
No, this is Apollo.
Oh, yes, Apollo. Yes, good evening, Sir Headmaster. Sir, you're most welcome. Philip is still on the call. The trainers are still on the call. We have a few minutes left. Would be happy to hear from you. As Apollo makes his way back on the call, it must be a network issue. I see people saying that, yes, they agree. Monica says we need to collaborate more and UFLA could help with reporting tool to demonstrate our impact.
Aisha?
Thank you, Monica. Yes, yes, we can hear you, Apollo. Good evening.
Aisha?
Yes, please.
Mboa Apollo here.
Yes, please.
I
Good
just
evening.
wanted to extend my appreciation to Mr. Kiryowa as one of the most consistent persons in delivery of content. I have been silently looking from the sidelines, and he has delivered. Every week he delivers something. I just want to commend him, and for me, the thing that stands out most about him for me is the consistency. Most of us do so many things, but we don't do those things consistently. So you are at a workshop one of these days, at another time you are doing a podcast, then you're on a webinar, then you go silent, then you write an article, but he has consistently churned out information, and I am thankful. And I just need to confirm that one of his information is one of the places, that's one of the sources that the NSSF FL chatbot uses as source because it's consistent. So sometimes when it is delivering answers, it quotes his information. So thank you so much, Mr. Kiryowa. And thank you so much, Aisha, for taking on this project. I hope you can be as consistent as Mr. Kiryowa.
Thank you, Apollo. And thank you for your remarks. Yes, we spoke about Kiryowa's consistency. Really, it stands out and he's really special in that area, but he's also shared so many things that have made him who he is. There are comments, Philip, how can we have you and other certified trainers that have made a breakthrough be into UFLA and motivate more trainers to also make impact in our country? Many people have many questions that are due to knowledge gaps. Someone is asking, Philip, how can the trainers have you to help them break through? Are you able to answer that? Are you able to mentor people to take on trainers on a mentorship program? How are you able to support others to pull them up so that you're not the only it's the fish in the sea, Philip?
Wow. Thank you. One, I think the coaching course made me realize that everyone has potential. So we need to take away that competition from us, in that everyone has a contribution to make. Nobody knows it all. Then the other issue is what is the purpose of the certificate that we've been given? So because at the end of the day, some people go for those trainings with an objective of getting a certificate. But the question is, after getting that certificate, what next? We are still a third world country. If financial literacy is being important in America, so how can we say that it's not relevant in a country where financial mistakes are up to the national level? So I think, one, we need more collaboration, but we also need to know nobody knows it all, because if you are a top-notch financial literacy trainer, show us the arcade you've built. So that keeps me humble. I cannot do what? I don't know everything. Everybody, the fact that you have knowledge doesn't mean that you know it all. So we need to know that delivering knowledge is different from impact. So as financial literacy trainers, maybe we also need to walk the talk. Do we have any building we've put up? Do we have any circle we've put up? Then, how is our financial literacy helping people out there who are not financially literate? For example, how are we positioning ourselves so that NSSF can build our capacity so that maybe we go to schools and train people about retirement planning? So all those are questions we need to ask each other, but collaboration is needed, and consistent sharing.
All right, like Philip just mentioned, collaboration, but I always hear that word collaboration. I feel like in the next session, I would want someone to actually break down what collaboration looks like. It's something that easier said, but sometimes it's really hard to do. So thank you so much, Philip. The key takeaways from the discussion, and like Monica shared in the chat, that we need more collaboration, like she said, and mentorship and shadowing opportunities. Yeah, so Philip, when you're training and you have those groups you're training, please invite the trainers to come and sit down in the background and watch how you train. I think that's what she meant by shadowing. David is saying there was a program Apollo had suggested about learning from people already making strides in the field. I am willing to meet my expenses. Just hold my hand for the next 1-2 weeks mentorship. Oh, okay. Thank you, David, for that. Yeah, so with what stood out mostly as we bring this conversation to a close, if there are no questions, so that the Friday can continue. You talk about self-discovery. You were big on self-discovery. You talked about sharing knowledge as a passion thing, that innately you were born a passionate knowledge sharer. You talked about a curious mindset. I don't know how we can build curious mindsets for those that maybe don't have that mindset yet, but I think we shall read about it. You talked about you always tried to stand out. Yeah. So even in your writings, I see that you put your contact, you put your full name, and you can't be ignored. It's very hard, actually, Philip, for you to be ignored. I can attest to that. You found your strength in writing and you focused on it. And then you said, if we have something to share with the world, we don't need permission from anyone. These platforms are open. If we can share our pictures on status, so we can also share knowledge. So you said we don't need permission. And you said you took on coaching to discover and to master yourself, yeah, to find your strengths, and it opened up doors. Continuous learning and reinvestment. You talked about we don't need to undersell ourselves, because some of the information that we think we know that is obvious, for example, loan management or a loan may seem like something that everybody knows, but when you share knowledge about it, you've even got phone calls or people asking you about it. Yeah. And you said that the things we take for granted, others want to hear from them. So we need to find ways of monetizing them. You said also you were big on the fact that we need to focus on the end and focus on service. And you said that as we do this content, as we do these trainings, some of these things that we read or share, they apply to us. You spoke about how you had to do an assessment on current condition versus desired condition to also assess yourself and see if you're actually there. Yeah, so collaboration, we shouldn't work in isolation. Trainers, feel free to reach out to a trainer who you think can support. At NSSF, I know we've supported so many trainers to even just come up to train, and we watch them grow, we watch them evolve, we give them feedback. So now that the headmaster is on the call, Apollo, I believe he can even share more about that in the next session. Yeah, so thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, to Philip, who has been a very great guest. Thank you so much for your honest and enriching conversation. You've not only shared your journey with us, but you've also reminded us that consistency, but above all, purpose, it can turn knowledge into real impact, but also it can turn into income. But to everyone else who has spared their evening to join us, thank you for showing up. Let's keep the conversation going beyond this call on our different platforms. We need to ask, learn, share. I wish you all a great evening. Until next time, let's keep learning and growing. Have a good evening. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, trainers. Have a good evening.
Mhm.
Good evening, Aisha.